Hey guys, what's going on? This is Matt Winning at winningstrength.com. And I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about some stuff that I saw on the Reddit forum that got brought to my attention on some different factors of not only the business but my own personal type stuff. The title on the Reddit, and take it for a grain of salt, but the title on Reddit is Matt Winning full of bro science. The answer is yes and no. Bro science has oftentimes been correlated with things that were found out to be correct later in life. And I remember listening to Charlie Francis and both Charles Poliquin talk about how researchers are around to prove what I already do works. And I think that it's interesting that people think, and we'll start on the first topic, the absurd amount of volume that I do before the main lift, which is i.e. the winning warmups. Now, when the book comes out, and hopefully it will be out by the end of 2024, the book will tell you and show you why that was so important. There are a handful of reasons that the amount of volume, and in this person's particular comment was absurd amount of volume, is done before the actual lift. There is one particular factor that we have to cover, which is it takes about 20 to 30,000 proper reps and proper technical movement patterns to eliminate poor movement patterns. This means that most of us, including myself, started off lifting with people that didn't have technical advice or technical coaching at their 100% best endeavors. This doesn't mean that the high school kid or the person you learned at the YMCA or Anytime Fitness was absolutely wrong with everything they were doing. But really, in most cases, in most scenarios in the United States, there are very few people that are highly skilled in movement patterns that are available to the general public. So your gym class teacher, your normal strong guy in a local gym may or probably doesn't have the level of education and technical understanding to get you better for a long period of time without causing problems. This means that most people, before they find out about a Matt Winning or a Joe DeFranco or a Dave Tate or anybody in that range, has probably created some bad movement patterns to which we will have to correct. So handing out the winning warm-up to people to see and hopefully to understand by getting the manuals or whatever is going to start understanding or at least developing the right movement patterns in the right way. I do not consider a 12 to 14 minute warm-up an absurd amount of volume. Absurd amount of volume would be doing a warm-up, say, for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, or even an hour, which we've seen people do before with mobility, foam rolling, and all other types of what I consider, and most times, garbage. So having absurd amount of junk volume is actually not junk volume at all. It's reproducing a better motor pattern with proper muscle groups that I hope you guys will understand that takes high volume in order to correct. That's why we stay in the 25 rep range. The other reason that we stay in the 25 rep range is because it's conducive for development of the passive tissues that we do not have control over. So stop looking at things like powerlifting and strength and bodybuilding and hypertrophy. Those things are important because those are what drive most people into weight training. But in reality, what it really is that it's developing the ligaments, tendons, cartilage, and all of the passive tissue that usually does not have good circulatory systems in order to recover or grow, meaning that they're constantly behind the active tissue, which is your muscle tissue. So doing the winning warm-ups, or what this person would consider an absurd amount of volume, is actually protecting you and allowing you to lift for many, many more years with bigger results and less injury. So I try to show this stuff as scientifically as I possibly can, but in reality, the science is just not there. There is no money in studying weight training and strength and power. It is why we don't see a lot of good studies on hypertrophy, strength, or power, because there's not a lot of universities studying any of that, because for coaching level in the pro and even the collegiate ranks, it's easier to go find a player that's already strong and powerful than it is to develop one. So I do feel that we are behind in strength and conditioning research, and a lot of that is because of lack of funding. So we have to follow some of the bro science. Now, For those of you that are against me utilizing reference points for the Russian manuals, I would strongly urge you to reconsider your thought process on that. The Russians had upwards of 300,000 active Olympic lifters in their heyday, with over 1,000 researchers that were studying every aspect of the ability to train. This allows us to have the biggest and largest group of studied athletes that the world has ever seen. This means that some of their data that's collected will never be seen again, because in America and in the rest of the world mostly, most people have a choice if they want to train. They have a choice what time they want to go to bed. They have a choice of what they're going to do for recovery, and they also have a choice on what they're going to eat. These areas make understanding how the body is reacting to training very complex, which the Russians knew and they controlled. So I find that the Russian systems and books that are very hard to find nowadays, especially the ones that have the really good information that we've utilized for the book, those books are some of the biggest gold mines that I've ever seen in training. The reason that we don't throw those books out to a lot of people and show them is because most of the weight training and power sports that are developed in America is not long-term thought out, meaning that the Russians had systems for guys and kids anywhere from 6 to 10, 10 to 15, 15 to 20, and then in their master of sport selection, meaning that everything was a very long-term process where you could actually really get an understanding of how the body is adapting to training. In the United States, most of us are brought up in 6 and 8 week cycles, fix your bench press in 8 weeks, or, gain 10 pounds of muscle in 60 days, or all of these quick fix type areas, in which really, if you've been involved in training, you're going to realize that those are not the cases. So I think this is a really good video to start off on why winning warmups are important. Ligament, tendon, cartilage, and then most importantly, GPP. GPP is another major area that most people and gym goers completely ignore. This means your overall fitness level. This overall fitness level allows you to recover from heavy training cycles. And so by developing that through your absurd amount of volume training is going to be a huge factor. So I find that if you really want to find really good information on how to train, you probably need to stay off the Reddit forums, because almost everything that I looked at, and I just didn't look at people that were talking about me, I looked at a lot of other areas. There's just a lot of dumbasses out there that just don't understand what they're talking about. And that's the problem with the internet. The internet's created a voice for everyone, good or bad, and a lot of times there's more bad people than good people, and it takes away from that. So the first one we're going to talk about today, and I think because we're already at 8 minutes, we're going to stop at the absurd amount of work volume. In reality, my workouts are done in an hour. And I can guarantee you the people that are bitching and complaining about this work out for way longer than I do and are half the strength. So talk to you guys later, and go visit winningstrength.com and let us help you reach your goals.